Hell, the GMs and the owners don't want to hire him. It's really that simple, Skip. Well, we need somebody to call plays. Skip, I want you to tell me who called plays. Zach Taylor, did he call plays? Matt LaFleur, did he call plays?
No.
What about Joe Judge? Kevin Stefanski, Nick Sirianni, Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, Nathaniel Hackett.
I think Nathaniel did call him for Jacksonville.
Jackson,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
take him off. He did. Not in Green Bay. Not in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Here's the offensive coordinators under Andy Reid that did not call plays. They got jobs. Matt Nagy.
That's a good one.
Doug Peterson.
That's a better one.
Brad Childress. All of them got head coaching jobs without calling plays. Skip, Joe Judge never called a play.
He's a special teams coach.
Got a job. 80% of the jobs are filled without being posted. Hey, Skip, you know anybody, Skip, that got the job opening? You know anybody, Skip?
Yeah.
I interviewed a guy about 6 months ago.
Yep.
He wasn't right for me, but he'd be perfect for you. EB can't get that break.
But to me, this doesn't feel like a racial thing with Eric Bieniemy, Key. It feels like there's something else or there's something more because the resume itself is off the charts. So when you keep hearing his name involved in conversations year after year after year, you start having conversations about like, well, what's actually going on internally? It doesn't feel like a race thing to me. I'll be the first to call something out when I see it, but this to me feels like there's something deeper and more with Eric Bieniemy that goes beyond race, that goes more towards his character that people are questioning. That to me seems to be the awkwardness with this.
Matt Nagy got hired as a head coach under Andy Reid, and so did Doug Peterson under Andy Reid, and neither one of them called plays at the level that Eric Bieniemy did. Eric Bieniemy shared play calling duties with Andy Reid. Whatever it is that's out there about EB, we don't know.
And I've talked to him numerous times. At one time, he was considering maybe going to college and trying to go back and become a head coach and then work his way back into the NFL to become a coach. I do think you make a good point. I think he needs to move on away from Andy as well, just to run his own shop, where no one can say, well, he's kind of consulting with Andy. Andy's kind of helping him and all that. I mean, be on your own. Worst case scenario for him is if Andy retires, which he will eventually, maybe he goes back to Kansas City and they give him a shot. Sometimes interviews are not always good when you have too many because these owners speak as well. And the problem is when you're getting 2 or 3 interviews every season and you don't get a job, these owners are talking amongst each other saying, well, I've interviewed him 4 times and he had 5 interviews this time. Well, why should I hire him?
How does Cliff Kingsbury ever get a head coaching opportunity before Eric Bieniemy? How did Nathaniel Hackett get a job? How about Matt LaFleur? His offense was the 27th ranked offense in the National Football League when he got hired as head coach in Green Bay. That is a fact, okay? That's just to name a few. I can come with others. We talk about Patrick Mahomes. 5 straight trips to the AFC Championship game, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl championships, and his record in that span is 64-16. He got elevated to offensive coordinator. That was when Patrick Mahomes became the quarterback. Wow, what a coincidence. Andy Reid has cost Eric Bieniemy a head coaching job in the National Football League. We don't want to say it, but it's true. But Andy Reid not only called some plays, he made sure we knew he called plays.
You're trying to figure out exactly who gets jobs, who doesn't, and why they do and why they don't. Eric Bieniemy has interviewed, I think 15 different times. I don't know if there's anything that's going to change here because Eric Bieniemy is probably older than Mike Tomlin. He's 53 years of age. And I was told yesterday that even if Andy Reid had retired, that it wasn't going to be Eric Bieniemy who would take over with Kansas City. Owners will hire somebody who represents them. The Giants hired Joe Judge, and Joe Judge did not deserve to be a head coach, and he proved that he didn't deserve to be a head coach. So we went from, hey, you know what, if you're going to be a black candidate, you got to be a coordinator. Well, then they became coordinators, and you took a special teams coach from the Patriots to jump the head of the line. Are you getting the opportunity you deserve? And there has to be something at play that nobody is really talking about. Now, if you want to bring up something that happened when he was playing in college at Colorado, okay, but he's still good enough to be your offensive coordinator in Kansas City. Now, I was told this, he didn't interview well. I don't hear that very often with white coaches. I hear that a lot with African Americans. Like, he didn't interview. After a while, you understand how to interview. You understand what the questions are, what they want when you go in there. But the fact that Eric Bieniemy might have to go to another team to prove that he can be a head coach at age 53?
Eric Bieniemy has entered this no man's land of what else do I need to do to prove that I can substantiate being a head coach. He's been endorsed by one of the greatest offensive minds we've ever seen in the game. He's tutored one of the best quarterbacks. He's had a tremendous amount of success in Kansas City. All of that aligned with becoming a head coach. That's the point. No one else has had the goal and be an offensive coordinator somewhere else to prove that they can be a head coach. With this paper trail of success, he has to go to Washington, in my opinion, to unfortunately disband himself from the rumors that it's all Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy has nothing to do with the success of the Kansas City Chiefs, in which we all know that's a damn lie.
Year after year, we continue to hear his name and say he deserves an opportunity to lead a team and to do his thing, what Andy Reid said. And some people took that as, oh, yeah, Andy Reid is saying to him, you need to leave and you need to go somewhere and run the show on offense. I took it as, do your own thing, as in you get the job to run the entire franchise. Why should Eric Bieniemy have to leave to do so? Why should he have to go to the Commanders? Why should he have to go to a different team to be the offensive coordinator with a defensive-minded head coach, as Peter talked about on Twitter? He should have the opportunity to lead right from where he is. Bieniemy became the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs in 2018. Want to know how those Chiefs have done on offense while Bieniemy has been there? And I know Andy Reid is the head coach. He's the guy calling the plays. Bieniemy has played a huge part. This guy's been unbelievable there. Mahomes talked about it after the game, how much Bieniemy has meant to him. The Kansas City Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, have gone to 3 of them. Bieniemy has been there and has coached the entire time. For so many of us in sports media, we talk about this every single year. The league puts out initiatives and say, hey, we want more black head coaches. We continue to go in that opposite direction, and there's a candidate like Eric Bieniemy who still hasn't gotten his chance to lead a franchise and be a head coach.